So there is a game that I have been interested in for quite a while, and it's because one of my favorite games of all time is Fallout, specifically Fallout 3. And then Fallout New Vegas came out shortly after that, and I really enjoyed that one as well. And then Fallout 4 came out, didn't like it as much, but the whole Fallout universe I think is great. And there's this game coming out called Atomfall, and a bunch of creators recently got their hands on it. One of which is ACG. This is someone who I've never seen before, but their video came up and recommended after I was looking at this kind of game to begin with. But his title was interesting because he said Atomfall, outlandish Fallout, Stalker Light, Sniper Elite Mix, hand-on preview. So just a very strange combination of games, and I wanted to see what his take was on it because of this. So we're going to dive in and see what he has to say about it, and maybe see if we're going to be playing it, because I think it comes out on March 27th, I want to say.
Atomfall scheduled
that's quiet.
on March 27th, 2025, and it's going to be available on pretty much everything but the Switch. Notably, it's also accessible to Xbox Game Pass subscribers.
Yeah, so it's a day one Game Pass game, so keep that in mind as well.
Day. Atomfall's a survival action game from Rebellion Development set in a British post-apocalyptic wonderland, or wasteland, I guess.
So the first time I saw this, immediately it gave me Atomic Heart vibes, which was a game that came out, I think it was last year, which kind of had like the same post-apocalyptic, but also kind of futuristic setting at the same time.
Depends on which side you draw your entertainment from. Drawing its own inspiration from the real-life 1957 wind-scale nuclear incident,
so
the
Chernobyl
game
style.
That event, plunging players into a quarantined North England teeming with mystery and danger, and sets you out on your own. 5 years after everything went straight to hell,
kind of.
Atomfall tosses you into the middle of a radioactive nightmare from England's Lake District, and it's not the peaceful countryside you might find on a friggin' district. And it's
so this is actually something I haven't seen yet. I want to see this.
In the middle of a radioactive nightmare from England's.
I haven't seen this backpack. So you have your weapons here. You have what looks like a flashlight and a thing that recognizes metal detector. Wow. Master guide. Okay, interesting. I haven't seen that inventory before, but as you can see, bullet wise, like 50 bullets, pistol bullets is like the most you can carry. 20 shotgun shells. So you don't have a lot of ammo whatsoever. So melee weapons important. There's investigations, which
Lake District.
Sounds like my thing.
It's not the peaceful countryside you might find on a friggin' postcard. It's a full-blown quarantine zone, crawling with bad guys, danger, and some radiation. You wake up with no idea what's going on. It's a mess. You have no memory, no clue who you are, and the only way forward is to figure out what the hell happened and why you're actually there. Speaking of why you're there, go check out the ACG podcast channel at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll be talking more about this game, diving even deeper than this actual video does. The game isn't necessarily post-apocalyptic in a world sense, but that's like saying that you don't care that someone else's house burned down just because yours is still there.
See, there it is.
And
there's
what
the
matters
futuristic
is
stuff. So
you're
kind of
here
like
now.
Fallout.
You have to go through Atomfall's world, which is set roughly between 1950, but possibly before 2099, because you have old-ass guns, but then you have a robot careening through town telling everybody
Fallout.
to watch their shit or I'll push it back in for them. It's a unique combination for a first-person shooter survival game, and does it work? Well, in the preview, I would say yes and sometimes no.
So it might not be good.
I got to spend 3 hours with the game, exploring, fighting, sneaking, streaking, and stabbing my way through a countryside. Let's see how it did, and to keep seeing how things are,
that person don't have a head?
do hit subscribe. This video is brought to you by our new sponsor, absolutely nobody. First up, and even from the moment on, I jumped in.
Wait, what? Did he just have a sponsorship bit from nobody? Okay.
To Atomfall with the idea that this might be something that I played before, or at least in some ways like a lot of other survival games. And that did met out quite quickly, constantly jostling different items, different equipment with a heavy restriction on inventory as well as
that thing doesn't have a head.
danger in the game versus your typical Fallout game, but definitely less so than, say, Tarkov. Now, I'm not saying that every single time you dip your nuts into some creek water, you're going to end up coming out with something, but you do have to watch various elements, such as bleeding on some of the weapons and a heart rate meter that plays out a lot like a stamina meter in games that are based on that. As I made my way through the brand new location I was dropped into, imagine a semi-open world hub-based kind of title, where you go into particular locations and they might be quite vast, but they all do remind you a great deal of Sniper Elite and the titles in the Sniper Elite series.
Because it's like,
meaning when you go out, some of the areas are large and open and wide, and then others funnel you through discrete linear locations.
Okay.
For example, subways, a particular castle, a village, underground tunnels, somebody's cellar. You
That's a
sneak in
big
behind
key.
somebody's back to squeeze through a gap to get past them, or sneak up behind them to
so
kill.
here is why I think I find this game so interesting, is because I have no idea whether it's going to suck or not. Like, no idea. Like, this game could be great, like a Fallout game, or it could be a horrible survival game that actually has no story. I don't know. And even like as we go through this video, I'm still not sure.
Kill them. The first thing to discuss is the quest system. They don't call it quests, they call it leads. Leads move you around the world, sometimes subtly like a whisper in the dark alley, other times like a 5-year-old's friggin' Christmas list after binge watching infomercials, meaning completely chaotic and almost borderline incomprehensible. And I actually sort of dug that. Somehow, you end up trying to find the right direction by reading different information that you get within the game world without an...
Wait, let's go back. Let me read this. So it says Casterfell Woods. Today I found another one of them doors, a bloody great thing marked interchange, just like that one we found in the Dales. So close to the village outskirts too. It was a wonder the soldiers aren't swarming around it. Maybe they don't give a rat's arse as they know it's locked up for good. Worth a go though, eh? Are they Canadian? The outlaw has scribbled a map to the door's location. So it tells you where the door is, kind of what's around it, and gives you a little bit of a map. So like,
by reading different information that you get within the game world without an exact quest checkbox list. They push you toward hints, and hints push you towards new quest locations, lost people, or in some cases, gloriously frustrating dead ends. Now, some people might bounce off the idea
so there's another
of this cryptic breadcrumb kind of guiding you through a journey. Nevertheless, for me, I liked it. There's something satisfying about piecing together half-heard conversation, scribbled notes, and the occasional gut feeling while scanning the overworld and trying to make sense of what you think you might need to do next by looking at your notes. And most of these you've found because they're torn up papers. Apparently in Atomfall, nobody respects books. It's like every citizen went full madman conspiracy theorist, ripping pages out of books, rewriting their journals in the margins, or just straight up confessing illegal deeds on loose scraps of paper, then leaving them all over the place. Mercifully, the bad guys seem to have collective amnesia about the existence of the friggin' written language, so those notes remain untouched, just waiting for you to stumble on them in the open, on a desk, stuck to a wall.
I hope he talks more about like what the bad guys are.
And as you go through the areas, you listen to people, you grab these, you consistently try to complete each particular lead to its end. Take this for example. I found an old voice recording from someone who's in a downed helicopter when something major went wrong.
Okay.
Recording hints that they may have traveled to a nearby village. So I decided to gear up and head towards that village. But along the way, I came across a torn up note in a burned out shack. Something scribbled in what looked like desperation, maybe a mention of stopping for the night. And just like that, the game reinforced the idea that I was probably on the right track. The more of those pieces I found and gathered, the more tangible the trail became, almost like you're building a case file in a way.
Well, that's why they call them investigations.
Chasing ghosts that are actually people who might be dead through the ruins, across the plains, through an enemy base, and then you stop right in the middle, turn around, and think to yourself, how in the fuck did that old lady from a helicopter crash who was hurt get through all of this same shit? Then you shrug and decide, who cares, and continue on with the game. Atomfall's ride is one that you just sort of know you bought the ticket for, and it's okay, even though slightly weird at times. It's a system that makes you feel like you're always uncovering a little bit of story rather than just following a glowing waypoint, and that, to me, makes sense. Now, during my time through the game, though, I didn't really run into that issue, at least too much, not in a way that felt frustrating. A lot of the objectives also played out in a familiar way. Help someone in need, track down a missing person, chase after a cryptic clue. They all did feel grounded in that setting, though. Take the case of the helicopter passenger I mentioned earlier. That threat alone felt like it could spiral into something quite big and rather unexpected. And that's the hook of Atomfall. You never quite know which story beats will fully unravel. Regardless of this, or because of this, you're going to find yourself going through open areas, going through linear locations, and a good deal of the time you're going to be sneaking around and trying to keep yourself safe. This can be done in many different ways, including...
So, like, I have so many more questions, right? Like, of all the gameplay we've looked at here, we haven't seen anything at night. So I don't know if there's like a day and night cycle, and we've just seen like the survival elements. Like, is there a base? Like, where are you housed? I have so many questions with this game, and every time I see more about it, I have more questions. And again, I still don't know if this game will be good.
Situations that I find to be quite intriguing in how they play out, like threatening somebody with a gun and they don't know if there's any bullets in it, and you might get an enemy to run off. So if you meet up with somebody, you have a gun and they don't, there's a chance that you could send them running. I think that's awesome. That possibility there to have a little bit more of a gray area interaction is awesome.
The cricket
You
bat,
can
that's
also
a
go
cricket
in
bat.
and do combat, or you can sneak. Now, stealth itself was pretty basic, with you sneaking around in one of two ways: crouched or just walking slowly. There was also the ability for you to crawl under particular areas like a broken fence or beneath a bookshelf, but it was contextual to those places, so don't assume you're going to be going
Okay, so it is a
full
metal
prone
detector.
like a sniper game. The sneaking really didn't have a lot of indicators of level. It was simply telling you.
Was that a
if you were
schematic for a
hidden or not.
Molotov
And that
there?
might be something that, as I continue to play, we get more of or discover more of. Sneaking around also allows for you to get up behind an enemy and take them out. Or I could have just walked past them. The ability to have some social stealth is also here. For example, when you go into a village, everybody allowed me inside as long as I didn't cause any problems. As I walk past, people, particularly guards, will say things like, "I don't know if I trust you," and keep an eye on you more
Like,
than
the village
others. And
looks
as long as you have your
fascinating.
weapons put away, you're pretty much in no problem. If you pull the weapons out, everybody doesn't instantly attack you in most places, but you instantly become the focus of everybody's attention. And sneaking also comes into play when you're trespassing in the game. For example, particular factions own some of the places. So you might
so
go
there
into a
is
spot and
factions.
you're completely fine. And then you might enter a secondary location and immediately you get warned that you're
So
trespassing.
you can see at the
And
top it said
usually you see a
trespassing.
glyph on a wall or something like that. When you're trespassing, they're on you pretty much in a second. So you have to be very careful. Speaking of the AI, when you were sneaking, it was fine. It wasn't great. It didn't really flank too much in combat either. It was a pretty good shot, I would say. Far away enough that it could hit me if I was standing out in the open, despite the difficulty I was on. When it
Ooh.
came to sneaking, it noticed me most of the time if I was out and about, but when you're in those places where it marks you as hidden, you truly are. But as you move around, you're able to put different weapons in and out of a hot equipped section, as well as your
That's
inventory.
good.
Being able to switch between those didn't take very long, so if you want to go bow and arrow to a shotgun to a rifle to a pistol and back and forth, I certainly wouldn't call your character quick or slick, but it works.
He
Pretty
hasn't mentioned anything about like any sort of RPG systems, like skill trees or anything like that, which I find interesting.
well.
And I didn't
Enemies
really
also
see
did
anything in
run
the
and hide
menus.
in some fights near locations where they had the ability to go to cover. Ferals, though, these are radioactive creatures that you have to take down quickly or they can poison you. Attack with the damn quickness. They do not care about anything and they'll just run straight towards you and hit you. And if they do enough times, you get poisoned. So you have to watch out for some of the creatures in the game. Atomfall also rounds out the combination of stealth and gunplay and social interaction and skills with a basic crafting system.
So
grenades, Molotov
You can
cocktails.
see like landmarks. Oh, so there's a vendor. But you can see like landmarks when you discover them. Like, it seems like on the map they like kind of sketch something on the map. I don't know if fast travel is a thing whatsoever, but
Bandages to stop bleeding and so on. It's bog standard stuff for survival games, with each item progressively doing more. For instance, a food item heals a small amount of damage over time, a bandage heals more and also stops bleeding, and a
the other thing that I don't see in any way, and maybe I'm missing this, is any sort of currency. Like when we were in the vendor here, he's highlighted.
over time, a
Wait,
bandage
what was he highlighting there? So he's highlighting this, but add items to both columns. So it's literally trading. It's bartering. Interesting.
progressively doing more. For instance, a food item heals a small amount of damage over time, a bandage heals more and also stops bleeding, and a med kit is a one-stop shop back to Hero Land. The game doesn't really have an ownership system that I could find outside of the aforementioned trespassing you're in deep shit system, so if there's a reason for you to pick something up, you probably should. Well, I didn't get to see the full game. I did get to see how the graphics look, at least in these parts.
One thing I have heard about this game is you can kill anyone. So if you're in a town, you can kill vendors, you can kill guards, you can kill everyone.
And graphically, there is no denying the game absolutely looks like Sniper Elite. It's got the same sort of off-kilter filtering effect that can go on, and in particular, the texture work
I guess
in
I
the
can see
locations
that.
had something that was very familiar. So imagine a mix of Fallout and Sniper Elite, and you're halfway there.
It seems like Fallout, Sniper Elite, Atomic Heart, just like a little bit with like the dystopian feel.
However, there's no over-the-top flashy bullet vision in this game or anything like that. Takedowns themselves are fairly basic. You're not a character out there doing Krav Maga. You're just out there actually trying to survive. Taking a cricket bat to a dude's face doesn't require deafness, it requires death. There were also some issues, just basic, that I saw here and there with some performance. But the world itself was interesting to move around with. It had a lot of mystique to it as well. A little bit Doctor Who, a little bit Fallout, and I like just the general feel. I also liked the robot design, but I've always been a fan of this timeline and these ideas of robot design in those games, and I was playing on the PC. The sound work is
the
also
phone booths
decent,
have me
with environmental
fascinated. I don't know
sound
if
like a
those are the
creek running
fast
by or
travel
the wind
points.
blowing through some rafters to get the feel of the environment and solidify it. If there's one thing that Atomfall absolutely nails, though, it is the voice. Not just in terms of performance, though the voice actors absolutely deliver, but in how they inject life into the game's eerie post-apocalyptic setting. One particular character stood out for me, one of the first ones I met, which is basically imagining Harry Potter's Professor McGonagall if she were younger, possibly a little unhinged and carrying the kind of quiet menace that makes you wonder if helping her is a good idea or the biggest mistake you'll make. She gave me a quest, and our back and forth was surprisingly engaging for a game.
Interesting. With the voice options, they give you like a tone of response. Like you could see friendly, wary, or desperate.
Like this. The dialogue system doesn't just throw you into bland, emotionless choices either. Each response has a particular flavor beside it, a feeling attached to it.
I like that.
It can be things like cynical, scared, blunt, or just downright dismissive, and the NPCs react somewhat accordingly. One thing I did notice as I was playing, there's no real skill checks in any way connected to the dialogue. There's nothing about what equipment you have or anything. So the idea that you can just pick to be curious in the discussion really worked. The other thing I wanted to talk about is music. As you guys know, I love to listen to this stuff and sort of see how it builds in the game world. Atomfall's music intentionally lean, and that's a good thing. A game like this, steeped in that survivalism and the eerie quiet of isolation, would lose a lot if
there's not a lot of music.
Atmosphere was consistently blasted out with music too.
Yeah, I get that.
It nails the feeling of solitude and a bit of creepy unease depending on what tracks are playing.
See, like this looks
so far with
creepy.
I
Okay.
can say this. If you're expecting a Fallout style game, this is not it. The game doesn't have a bunch of attributes like you would expect in a title like that, and I'm totally okay with it. It is a bit clumsy, at least right now,
So
but
there's
at the same
no
time,
XP?
switching between the larger areas, the village towns, going into a dam with questionable bad guys inside that are probably
So it doesn't seem like even if we look at the menu, there is skills. I'm kind of blocking it here, and he has 4 skills, so I'm not sure what those are. But it seems more survival-esque than RPG-esque, going through a story that you have to piece together, which I love. But
worshipping some kind of atomic eldritch beast that was sucking down nuclear pellets. I liked the mystery there.
Also, there's
the linear sections were very linear, but they were interesting to explore. It just depends on how it's all going to come together. It's certainly not a larger, expansive world, but the idea of doing the leads does help add mystery to a game that might feel a little one-note depending on exactly the kind of gamer that you are. Certainly people who've come off something that is heavy survival, like a Tarkov or something like that. Anyway, that's it for me. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up. If you didn't like it, still hit the...
See, here's the thing. I need your help. I think this is like the 3rd, maybe 4th. So I watched the original trailer, and then I watched someone else's video on it, like early on, like months ago. And then this is the first video I've watched since people actually got their hands on the game. I still don't know if I'm going to like this game. I don't know if it's going to be good. I don't know. Like, part of me wants to kind of keep it that way and just experience it. And if it sucks, it sucks, because it's a Game Pass game anyway. But like, I don't understand this game. And am I alone in this? Like, do you have as many questions as I do? Like, is it, how narrative driven is it? Is it like an RPG? I get the survival aspects of it, and I get like the setting of it. But aside from that, I have no idea if I will like it. Like, no idea. So if you know more information, I would love to hear it down in the comments. But I think this is one we'll play when it comes out for sure. I just have no idea if I will like it or what it'll feel like. Fallout meets Sniper Elite survival game, maybe? I'm not sure.